Internal portal. Before we start this show, let me send my best wishes and regards to all friends and family and to the world uh, due to the second day of Eid. It was yesterday, Friday. Friday and Eid when came together. So he did. So I wish all of you a nice holiday and a nice festival. So after that, some techno portal today will explore the ongoing conflict in Sudan. It is a very tragedy to see millions of people living from their homes without any reason. Nobody had ever thought that one day Sudan could go this way because imagine early in the morning people going to the schools, hospitals, education, trainings, you know, everyone going to his own way of life and suddenly caught in a crossfire. A city with 6 million people with no pre-declaration of war, just war started and erupted. While most of the students, teachers, doctors, and agriculture people, or also travelers, stuck on this 6 million population. It must be a very sad, some technoportal just looks what is going on Sudan, and most of the world are surprised. There are calls of ceasefire all over the world, United Nations and the Arab League, at the same time African Union, at the same time Intergovernmental Authority for Drought, IGAD, East African nations, which include also Sudan, Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, Kenya, and Uganda. Probably, I'm not sure whether it is Uganda part of IGAD or not, but just what I'm sure is that Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and Sudan are the founding fathers of IGAD. So not all of them are calling to stop the fighting between military Sudanese high power military forces and paramilitary troops, which also recently become very powerful. The tragedy is that imagine a city in 6 million people without knowing anything that there could be a war tomorrow or after tomorrow, going to their businesses, schools, universities, hospitals, uh, and then caught in the middle of the day, a war. Nobody knows how it started, and shelling, shelling in residential areas, heavily populated city, fighting with machine guns, tanks, and at the same time, airplanes. This, I think, the Sudanese people will pay much price with this war because they lost so many things. They lost infrastructure in Sudan. Khartoum is is the biggest city in Sudan, and almost most of the Sudanese infrastructure is located in Khartoum. So millions of Sudanese will lose a lot of services, whether it can be communication services, health services, and so many other things, because most valuable infrastructure are located in Khartoum. Even though Sudan is a very large country and very difficult to move from one place to another place due to the distance but it is going to be the Sudanese people who will pay the price for this massive destruction. It is just like tsunami. I can't say, I don't have any other word to explain except tsunami war in Sudan. This is let me call it a tsunami war, because you see, with such a city with so many infrastructure. Even the problem in Sudan is that even in the international airport is located in the middle of the city. So, so now you have more than 20 airplanes. Civil aviation is being destroyed with this short period of 3 days, and without warning. There was no warning. But even if there's a warning, people could go outside to the city. But due to the nature of this volcanic war, nobody survives. Thousands of people stuck. To my surprise, students in Khartoum University also stuck in this war. But luckily, they have been saved to the Sudanese military. I think Sudanese people will pay the price for this unnecessary and bullshit war, which started without notice, without even most of the international. This also indicates the failure of international diplomatic, because so many even neighboring countries. This is the first time that world agrees this is a humanitarian crisis. Even though there is a Brax war all over the world, but now it seems the superpower, just like United States, European Union, China, and Russia, all of them are calling warring factions, warring parties to stop, to halt their hostilities due to the humanitarian aspect, because millions of people are stuck in the city. There is no water and electricity cut. There's no also electricity and water supplies. All of them are gone due to the disturbance, and the war expanded into the civil areas and all infrastructure. So hospitals without electricity, and also even there is no way to start or to use backup energy, which is just like a private engine or private because uh, because shelling is coming to everywhere, and everyone is stuck. So even the doctor, does he cure a patient, or does he hide himself? That's a tragedy, and we wish all the Sudanese people to pass this difficult time. And we are with the Sudan. Some technoportal is with the Sudanese people. So just let us see the reaction of the world, some of the world, what's going on in Sudan. Let us check different media talking about Sudan and the war that is ravaging Sudan. Just let's start with the BBC News.
Now, where the army says foreign nationals from the UK, as well as the United States, France, and China, are to be evacuated in the coming hours. The head of the military agreed to facilitate the operation as fighting in the capital Khartoum enters its second week. Saudi state TV is reporting that planes carrying evacuees have begun arriving in Jeddah. The UN estimates that at least 400 people have been killed across Sudan since the fighting began a week ago. the most intense taking place in the capital, Khartoum. Explosions and gunfire have been heard across the city in the past few hours. That's despite the Sudanese army announcing a 3-day halt to the fighting from Friday. The conflict is the result of a power struggle between the National Army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the RSF paramilitary group, led by General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. The two men had been sharing power since leading a coup in 2021, but recently disagreed with how Sudan should be ruled moving forward. Well, BBC Africa's Ferdinand Omondi is following this story for us from Nairobi. Ferdinand, what is the latest on this? We've heard about the sounds of gunfire and the apparent halt to this ceasefire. What's the latest from either side?
Yeah, the latest is that we have the military and the RSF confirming that they are willing to offer a pathway for the foreign nationals to be evacuated from Sudan. And the response from the international community is to try to scramble their military and all the evacuation officers. The British Foreign Office confirming that it is about to start the process to evacuate its people, although it's warning against any suggestion that is an immediate thing. We have seen a confirmation from the government of Saudi Arabia that it has indeed put in place plans to evacuate its citizens. In fact, the Sudanese military had earlier indicated that some of them are already evacuated by road towards Port Sudan, where they could either leave by ship or by air. But that road towards Port Sudan is a 12-hour drive. Other governments like France have also spoken to the leader of the RSF, Hemeti. They've discussed the possibility of opening the humanitarian pathways. So it seems things are moving. Previously, as we have seen, truth has been broken. So these are guided optimism.
And Ferdinand, we are seeing pictures live from Khartoum now, where it, on the face of it, seems quiet. Is there any indication of how the fighting may develop from here?
That is difficult to tell because there's also been lots of propaganda coming out from both sides. They've been showing videos on social media, RSF showing how it has conquered and shot down some strategic positions of the military showing how it has made some supposedly RSF soldiers.
Between the Sudanese army and a paramilitary group known as the RSF, or Rapid Support Forces. At time of writing, over 180 people have been killed. And on Thursday, there were reports that the violence had spilled out into the Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay. Coup. From there, he basically rigged the elections to stay on as Sudan's head of state for the next 30 years. His government continued the Sudanese civil war. Erstellt and Zakhawa people, with a campaign of murder, rape, and deportation. In the military got cold feet and staged another coup in October 2021. The coup was led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who basically heads up Sudan's military and is now Sudan's president, and supported by the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, which is basically just the name given to the Janjaweed in the mid-2010s when they were partially incorporated into the Sudanese military after the war in recent.
Just surrendered and also shut down their military equipment and artillery. But what we do know is that both leaders are fighting to be the leader, the